And welcome back, everybody, to a new episode of the DoDcast. I'm your host, co-editor Ricky Keeler. As the Nationals lose the first game of the Battle of the Beltways. Yeah, I've learned that you don't say Beltway, you say Beltways, so it's plural. But the Orioles win the first game of this four-game set, 6-4. It was going to be a rough game from the beginning. Gio Gonzalez put the Nats in an early hole, and give them credit, they tried to dig themselves out of it, and it looked like they were about to. Just terrible base running by the Nationals at the end. The second and third, one out. Brian Goodwin, who we'll get into in a little while, grounds out to first. And I don't know if it was Adam Lind not reading the play right or Trey Turner not reading Adam Lind. I would say more it's Lind because you got to score on that. At least take a chance and score. But he stayed at third. Turner ran to third. And naturally, the Orioles got a double play. And that sealed the deal because the Nats had Brad Brock on the ropes and should have found a way to finish that game, but they've lost two straight, trying to avoid now losing three straight tomorrow. I think they haven't lost three straight all year. Hasn't felt like it, but the Nats dropped to 21-11. The Orioles now 21-10. Both these teams really good to start the season. Kevin Gausman, I thought, pitched well tonight. Not surprised by it. You could look at the ERA and say you should be surprised, but he's a much better pitcher than the ERA shows. And just Gio couldn't recover from the first inning. Now, he did give the Nats a good amount of innings, which is important because in a four-game series, you want to save the bullpen. So Gio did that, and you can thank the American League rules for that. But we want to get you involved in the show tonight. Feel free to send a question to the YouTube channel, the chat room here on the page. You can tweet me on Twitter at District on Deck or at Rickinator555. We'll try to get to your comments and questions. So we'll keep an eye out for that. So look at the line score first. Orioles 6 runs on 10 hits, no errors. The Nats 4 runs, 8 hits, 1 error. That came on an Anthony Rendon throw in the fourth inning, which was the other 2 Oriole runs. Ended up being a difference in this ball game. Kevin Gausman gets the win, 7 innings, 2 runs, 5 hits, 8 strikeouts, 1 walk. Gio Gonzalez, the loss, 6 innings, 6 runs, 7 hits, 2 strikeouts, 4 walks. And the save to Brad Brock, his 8th of the season. But he's not been very consistent for the Orioles. With Zach Britton on the disabled list. So that is something to keep an eye on. If Brock comes in the rest of the series, it's not an automatic save as, let's say, Britton would be. So that's definitely a plus the Nationals should put in their back pocket. But let's start by looking at Gio Gonzalez and just a rough first inning for him. You got right out of the gate, Joey Rickard leads off with a home run. Then you got 3 batters later, Mark Trumbo hits a solo shot, crushes the fastball. It was really high over the wall in left center. Then a walk to Chris Davis, and then a solo shot to Trey Mancini, who's been huge for the Orioles to start the season. And just like that, it's 4-0 before you even blink. So it's going to be tough to come back from 4-1 hole early against any pitcher. And the Nats have had a tough time in first innings this year. Watching some of that Yankees-Cubs series, the Cubs are really bad in the first inning. But so are the Nationals. I think they have the second or third highest first inning ERA by a rotation pitching staff this year. Now, most of those numbers are because Jeremy Guthrie gave up the 10 runs, which, by the way, read Mark Zuckerman's column, Masson. He caught up with Jeremy Guthrie. It's an excellent column. But largely because of that. But Gio can't be giving up home runs in the first inning. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. He's had a habit of that this season and can't really afford to do that in a given situation. He struggled again all night with command. First pitch strikes, just 12-29. And you're starting to wonder, is May Gio not April Gio? Same thing happened last year. He had the great April and struggled in May. He's walked 11 guys in his last 2 outings in May. He's walked 3 or more in 5 out of 6 in 5 straight starts, 2 or more in 7 of 8. He's got to find the strike zone. Especially against this kind of offense that the Orioles have, you can't afford to get behind to a lot of hitters. I mean, you think about it, the Orioles scored 6 runs, and Adam Jones and Manny Machado did nothing. Think about that for a second. That's what makes that lineup so tough because they have so many different options they can beat you with. The Nationals are the same way. And I think that's what makes this series a lot of fun is because both these teams have the ability to put runs on the board. So Gio put him in an early hole. I'll give him some credit. He did go 6 innings. You'll like to see that, especially when the bullpen's in disarray. You'll at least keep the question of A.J. Cole or Jacob Turner Thursday night for another day. 108 pitches, 60 strikes, 8 groundouts. Not a bad game. Not a bad finish to the game, but a rough first inning, and you just can't recover from that. As for what I thought of the Nats' hitting approach against Gausman, I didn't like it early. I thought they were very aggressive to a point where they just kept swinging for 1, 2, 3 pitches during the at-bat, and you can't do that against a guy like Gausman. Yes, he's going to throw a lot of strikes. Maybe that's why they were swinging. But you got to get him in a different zone. Because remember, Gausman got ejected for throwing a curveball at Xander Bogaerts, which is still kind of dumb to think about. But he was kind of rested, and we wondered yesterday when we did the DoDcast Postgame whether rust would play a factor. Did not. Fastball is about at 96, 97 all night. Even threw it we got to pitch 110. He was throwing 97. And that was really the difference in this game. Gausman had 21 first pitch strikes out of 27. So if you look at, just go off, you don't even look at a score, just look at stat lines. You can tell Gausman was the winner in this one. Nationals, as I said, did fight back. Down 6-0. Michael Taylor, who we've ripped a lot over the last couple of days, and rightfully so, but he comes up with a big 2-out double down the left field line, gets the Nats on the board. Definitely good 2-strike hitting. Again, I mentioned yesterday how bad Michael Taylor's 2-strike hitting is. I'll have more on it in an article tomorrow, but I was impressed, and he worked a couple of decent counts in this ballgame. Maybe that will help him over the next couple of days. So Taylor gets the double, makes it 6-1. Then in the 6th inning, Nats got on the board again thanks to a Bryce Harper single. It was kind of infield hit up the middle, but Jason Wirth started it all with a double to start the inning, goes to third on the wild pitch. 2 more hits tonight for Jason Wirth, who's had a good last couple of games. His batting average now this season is over 300. It's right at 300. So Wirth is off to an excellent start. And I think when you look at the way Wirth has played, it helps when other guys struggle. Like tonight, Dusty Baker gave Trey Turner the night off from hitting. I think that was the right call. You can make the case, yeah, why is Dusty sitting Trey Turner in the opener of a series? You have every right to do that. But Trey had a terrible series in Philadelphia. He has not looked like himself, and Dusty likes to give guys sort of that mental day off to get their mind right. So I think maybe you look at Turner, he can't keep pressing at the plate. He doesn't even have to in this lineup because there's so many guys that can score runs. He doesn't have to be that spark plug compared to last year. I mean, he just has to play his game. So I think that's probably what Dusty would tell him, and you hope that he bounces back because when he does, he's going to make this lineup even better, and that's scary to think about. As you saw in Colorado in that week where they actually scored like 80 runs in a week. And that's just how dynamic this offense can be. So Wirth picks up 2 more hits tonight. Bryce Harper, 2 more hits tonight, including a solo shot off Darren O'Day in the 8th, and it was impressive. Opposite field blast. First home run to left field all season. Definitely good to see Harper hit a home run in his first game back from missing the Philly series because of the groin injury. So definitely a great sign that Harper's hitting the ball well. Ryan Zimmerman ends his 13-game hitting streak. No harm, no foul there. You start another one. He's still been great this season. Despite an 0-for-4, he's hitting .420 anyway, so off to an excellent start. 9th inning was interesting. Nationals definitely made it a contest against Brock. Daniel Murphy worked a rare walk. Anthony Rendon struck out swinging. Brock blew a couple of fastballs by him. Nice at-bat for Adam Lynn. He singled up the middle. And then Ron brought this up off the air, I think, or might have said it on one of the DoDcasts. The Nats have a thing with doing well when they face former teams. Daniel Murphy, obviously the perfect case in point. But Matt Wieters picks up a clutch RBI double to right center in the 9th inning, cuts the lead to 6-4. You think the Nats have something going, 2nd and 3rd with 1 out. Turner comes in to run for Wieters, and in the end it doesn't really matter. Brian Goodwin grounds out after he pinch hits with Taylor, which is the right call. If Dusty's going by the matchups, I think it's a good decision. Goodwin's more likely to put the ball in play than Taylor, who's more of the strikeout guy. And you want to at least get a productive out. So it's 6-5. You got a man on third and Diffo. All he has to do is get a base hit to tie it. So that's really where that game kind of went. I think there were a couple positives with the bullpen. And I know it's rare we say bullpen and positives with the Nationals. Blake Trinan for me is the positive for tonight. There was a 1-2-3 7th inning, a couple of strikeouts, gets the ball up to 99 miles an hour, And he looked better tonight. And give Dusty credit for throwing him right back out there and saying, you got to figure it out. We need you. And this bullpen does need trying. And FP made a good point, something we've talked about, that there's no better options in AAA. I mean, Trian's going to have to figure this out. And I think it's only one game, but that was probably one of his better outings this season. And you hope he builds on that. Joe Blanton had a rough eighth inning, gave up 3 hits, but the Orioles did not get on the board. Just 1 for 5 at men scoring position tonight was Baltimore. But the Nats went 3 for 9 in those situations. And they had chances early. I think their best chance against Gausman, I would say, was the 4th inning. 4-0 down at that point, but Worth got a single, Harper got a walk, but a rare 3-pitch strikeout by Zimmerman. You just don't see those on a given day. And Daniel Murphy lined out to end that inning. It was a hard hit ball, but right at Jonathan's scope. And that's what ends up happening. So the Nationals get the loss. First loss in the series, 21-11. So again, no harm, no foul. And they'll try to get back at it tomorrow. We'll talk about the pitching matchup in a little bit. Won't give you the pitching matchup yet because we'll talk about it in a second. But we look around the division. 2 games tonight, 1 final, 1 in progress. Let's start with the final. Cardinals with a 9-4 win over the Marlins tonight. Giancarlo Stanton hit an absolute moonshot to center, his 3rd home run in 2 games. Marcell Ozuna crushed a home run as well. But the Cardinals got 4 RBIs from Carlos Martinez, the pitcher helping his own cause tonight, as St. Louis bouncing back. Marlins now 5 games under 500. And the Mets and Giants right now 3-3, bottom of the 9th at Citi Fields. Of course, the Matt Harvey situation continues to develop there. Jacob deGrom, 11 strikeouts in 6 innings. But Buster Posey hit a home run off him for the Mets. RBIs for Neil Walker, TJ Rivera, and Curtis Granderson. So 3-3, bottom of the 9th at Citi Field. Giants, who are arguably the worst team in baseball right now, at least in the National League, taking on the Mets. The Mets a chance to get within 5.5 of the Nationals, but it's still early. The big roster move today, which I thought was interesting. Brian Goodwin coming up to the major leagues again. Rafael Bautista goes back down. Dusty Baker called an organizational decision, and it's the right call. Rafael Bautista needs to play in center field every day in Syracuse. It's a development thing. He wasn't getting the at-bats with the Nationals. He did get his first major league hit, which was cool. But he needs to play in that outfield. And you look at that outfield in Syracuse with Rafael Bautista and Andrew Stevenson, that's a fun outfield to watch. And Brandon Snyder, who we'll get into at another great night at the plate, he's playing left field. So outfield of Snyder, Bautista, and Stevenson's a good outfield in AAA. But I think Goodwin's here to push Taylor. Taylor had a good game tonight, but the strikeouts have come back. He hasn't really adjusted to the point where you would want him to. And Goodwin's 26. I mean, I'm sure you want him to develop, but he's been hitting the ball well at Syracuse, 4 multi-hit games in his last 7 with the Chiefs. So you like a guy coming up to the big league club with a little bit of momentum. Who knows if Goodwin plays the next couple of days. It'll be interesting to see where Dusty goes. But he made a good impression last year. Hit 286 when he was called up to the big leagues. Not a bad number. Didn't have a great spring training. Struggled to start the year. Remember, it's really cold, though, in Syracuse. I was watching the game a little bit tonight before the Nats game, and it's May, and people were in ski masks in the outfield. Now, I shouldn't be complaining when you look at Colorado and there's hail and rain and everything over in Coors Field in May. That game got canceled tonight, but so you can't play. You could put the weather on, but Goodwin has played better, and he's earned the call up. So, if anything, it makes the Nats bench a little bit more deeper, which is scary in its own right. So again, I don't mind that call. Sean Kelly had a bullpen session today, which is great. I think I saw somewhere Dusty said Steven Drew could be on a rehab assignment this weekend, which would be good. It would be great to get Drew back in the lineup, or at least on the bench. Nats could use a veteran in the infield. Defo's played well, I would say. Coda Glover hopefully going to come back. So hopefully by this weekend, Sean Kelly and Coda Glover are back in this bullpen, and at least help the pen a little bit by having some guys that have strikeout ability, at least in Glover's case. And Kelly is better than he's pitched. Yes, the home runs are always a problem with him, but they could definitely use him out in the bullpen. So a lot going on in terms of Nats news. I saw Byron Kerr tweet earlier today, Jason Ward's going to DH tomorrow. So That probably could mean you see Goodwin in the outfield, or you see Chris Heisey, who's not played well, but Heisey might get a shot to play. So remember, DH AL rules. You have the DH. I like it personally. Now, you could say, yeah, you're right for a National League site. Why do you like American League rules? I don't like pitchers hitting. I'll put that out in front with you. I don't like it. I think it's an on-mac out most times. Double switch aspect of the NL game I like, but I would prefer the DH in both leagues. That's just my opinion. Again, if you don't like it, tweet me at Rickinator555. I don't mind if you do. That's just how I view those kind of rules. So let's look at tomorrow's pitching matchup before we do a little bit of the minor league update for the day. Nationals and Orioles, 7:05 Eastern, first pitch tomorrow on MASN 2. If you're an Orioles fan, you can watch on MASN. Max Scherzer gets the ball for the Nats, 4-2 with a 2.66 ERA against Ubaldo Jimenez, who's 1-1 with a 6.58. Of course, Scherzer coming off of a good outing in his last start. He was taking on the Diamondbacks, and I thought he was great in that game. Ron was on the live tweeting for that, but I like the fact that he went out there, had a lot of strikeouts. Obviously, Max is known for the strikeouts, but he gave up a home run, and after that, it wasn't really a huge deal at that point. He's pitched well against the Orioles in his career. Last year, he had a superb start. Nats were about to get 4 games swept by the O's, and he struck out 10, gave up a couple of hits in 8 innings. So Scherzer has the ability to put those kind of starts on the table, and that's what you like to see. He has given up 5 home runs in his last 3 starts, so something to monitor, but he's also struck out 27 in those starts. So you'll take the home runs if they're of the solo variety, but the home runs have piled up after not giving up 1 in his first 3 starts. So it's something to monitor for Scherzer tomorrow night at Camden Yards. As for Jimenez, he's going to walk the park a lot of times. He's got 18 already this season. That's 9th in the American League. He's walked 15 over his last 4 starts. He's had a 4-walk game, a 5-walk game, and he has not made it out of the fourth inning since April 19th. So this is the kind of game, the Nationals offense slumped a little bit tonight with Gausman on the mound, but Gausman's got more talent than Jimenez. I mean, he was the opening day starter for the Orioles. He's got good stuff. Ubaldo, if you wait him around, if you're patient, the Nationals offense can make him pay. And I would expect most of the regular lineup to be out there tomorrow. I don't like to make predictions on this show, on this DoDcast, but you should feel pretty confident with Max Scherzer on the mound tomorrow night and avoid that 3-game losing streak. Every team's going to have them, but you like when Max Scherzer can be that guy that sort of bounces back. You want your East to be able to do that. So I'd expect a deep outing from Max Scherzer tomorrow night. Let's take a look at the minor league update. Of course, you can check out my interview with Carter Kieboom. That went up earlier today from Hagerstown. Carter was a great person to talk to. You'll find out about his draft experience. You'll find out about what was in his mind when he went 5 for 7 with 3 home runs last week. So definitely a fun moment when he talks about what his older brother Spencer advice he gave him, most memorable advice he's given with Spencer being in the Nats organization as well. So a lot of good stuff from Carter, and we thank him for taking the time. We have another interview coming up that I'll tell you about in a minute. First off, before we do game action, congrats has to go out to Jeffrey Rodriguez from Potomac. He won Carolina League Pitcher of the Week, and for good reason. When you have an 8-inning, 1-hit performance, you should win Pitcher of the Week. So congrats to Jeffrey Rodriguez on that award. Potomac is off tonight. I believe they go back in action against Wilmington tomorrow. 3-game slate on the Nats minor league docket today. Syracuse lost to Buffalo, 9-3 your final there. The Chiefs continuing to drop down to 9-17. Rough night at the office for Greg Ross, who went 4 2/3, gave up 10 hits, 7 runs, and a couple of home runs as well. But a good night at the plate for Brandon Snyder, 3 for 4 with a home run and 3 runs batted in. He homered in the 8th inning to get the Chiefs back within 4, but it was not enough. So Syracuse again drops to 9-17. Speaking of the Chiefs, I'll have an interview tomorrow, coming up, not tomorrow, but later this week. I got the chance to talk to Andrew Stevenson today. So that was a lot of fun. Stevenson told me about his adjustment to AAA, some of his moments in the College World Series, his draft day experience. So we find out a lot more about Andrew Stevenson that you'll find out later this week on District on Deck. And again, we try to bring you guys 1 or 2 prospect interviews per week. So we're going to have 2 this week with Kieboom that went up today, and Stevenson that went up. That'll go up later this week. So that's definitely something we try to do for you, sort of let you get to know these prospects, because it's really important. And you get to learn about the future of this organization, whether they help this team or help another team via trade. It's always good to learn about these players. Wild game in Double-A tonight. Harrisburg wins a shootout with Erie, 13-10, your final there. Senators had a 7-0 lead, then Mark Blackmore gave it all back with 7 runs in the top of the fourth. But the Senators, they get the win by 3. Everybody had a hit in the lineup. 7 of the 9 hitters had multi-hit games. 2 players had 3 RBIs, Alec Keller and Kion Norfolk. Norfolk had a home run in the second inning, a 3-run shot. Drew Ward had a home run, his 4th of the season. Ryan Brindley got the win in relief. 2 2/3, 2 runs, 3 hits, 2 Ks. Wander Suero, a 1-2-3 ninth for his 4th save of the season. So the Senators are now 13-16. And Hagerstown earlier this morning took the loss to Hickory 6-1. Mackenzie Mills gave up 4 runs and 5 1/3 and struck out 5. Lone run today coming from Nick Banks, a solo shot in the 6th. His 2nd home run of the season. Banks up to 18 RBIs on the campaign. So the Suns are 19-12. They got a fun series coming up against Rome, who they took 2 out of 3 from last week, and the Rome Braves, one of the better teams in the South Atlantic League. You can watch those games on MILB.TV. You don't get to do that a lot in the South Atlantic League. So if you're a big minor league fan, you have the package, watch it a little bit. Actually, it'll be Wednesday. They're off tomorrow, so they're actually off Wednesday. Austin Voth is going to start for Syracuse tomorrow afternoon. That should be a fun outing for him. And Harrisburg in action at 6:30. So that's your minor league games going up for tomorrow. So tomorrow on the website, we have, I'm going to write something on Brian Goodwin being called up. Ron's got something on the game from tonight. Who knows what angle he'll take, but Ron usually provides a good take there, so you want to check that out. Drew had our Player of the Week Sunday that you can read. I wrote about Coda Glover and sort of the issue where Glover said on media on Friday that he was going to come back, and they talked about him throwing bullpen sessions, and Dusty said yesterday, well, Coda hasn't thrown any bullpen sessions yet, and you wonder if there was a setback or something went wrong. But if Glover is back on Friday, it's really, or this weekend against the Phillies, it's a moot point, but it's something to keep an eye on. So I've got something on District on Deck on that. I want to thank all of you for listening in tonight. And, of course, I think the big story from this game is the Nats need Gio to get his command right. When you have a guy only throwing about 91, 92, you've got to locate better. And I found now Rickard's home run in the first maybe wasn't location-based, but definitely Trumbo's was, even though Trumbo hit a really high pitch over the wall. And I thought Mancini's pitch, you don't first pitch fastball, you don't throw that right where Gio threw it. Mancini's going to make you pay for that. So Gonzalez has to fix the command, but again, you like the fact he went 6 innings and at least helped the bullpen. He did something right tonight, even though he took his first loss of the season. So still hasn't gone 4-0 yet for his career, as Dave Jagler pointed out on his tweeting before the game. That has not happened. But try to shake it off tomorrow, and the perfect guy to shake it off with is Max Scherzer. Ron is going to be with you tomorrow night and Wednesday night. Steven Strasburg against Wade Miley Wednesday night. Trifecta in D.C. Wednesday. The Caps were the win tonight over the Penguins, so they'll play Game 7 Wednesday night at the Verizon Center. Wizards have Game 5 against the Celtics on Wednesday, so D.C. trifecta. Maybe all 3 teams in D.C. will win again, but it's always going to be fun, and we're going to, I think, definitely a great D.C. sports scene Wednesday night with a decisive Game 7, a crucial Game 5 in the NBA, and Game 3 of Nats Orioles. You got to love all 3 of those sporting events if you are a sports fan. So Ron's with you tomorrow, and Wednesday I'm with you on Thursday for Dylan Bundy and either Jacob Turner or A.J. Cole. Chris Lacey's going to be with me for that one, so we'll have some fun. And then the Nats and Phillies will be back again at Nats Park over the weekend. So Nationals get the loss, but don't worry about it too much. Every team goes through a little bit of a slide, and I thought they fought back pretty well to even make that a ball game at the end. So for all of us at District on Deck, well, first off, I want to tell you, subscribe to the YouTube channel, like us on Facebook, and follow us on Twitter at District on Deck. and at Rickinator555. Follow Ron on Twitter at Ron Juckett. So from all of us at District on Deck, I'm Ricky Keeler saying hope you have a great night. And Ron will be back here tomorrow night for Game 2 between the Nats and the O's.